The news traveled through human space faster than any ship could fly. Within a week, everyone knew about the Renathi, the aliens with crystal feathers, the refugees who had lost everything, the people that Captain Deho had decided to help. Admiral Salmon stood in her office on the military station orbiting Mars, reading report after report with growing disbelief. 17 cargo vessels had diverted from their trade routes to offer supplies. 8 exploration ships had abandoned their missions to provide escort. 3 colony transports had volunteered to help relocate the Renathi, and more ships were joining every hour. "This is chaos," her second-in-command said. "We have ships going off mission left and right. The trade guilds are complaining. The exploration corps is in disarray. Admiral, you need to issue orders to restore discipline." Admiral Soman looked at the reports again. Then she looked at the image attached to one of them. A young Renathi child holding hands with a human engineer, both of them smiling. Something in her chest tightened. "No," she said quietly. "Admiral?" "No," Soman repeated louder this time. "I'm not going to order them to stop. Those crews are doing exactly what they should be doing. They're helping people who need help. But the regulations—" "Damn the regulations," Samin said, standing up. "Prep my ship. I'm going to join them." Her second-in-command stared at her. "You can't be serious, dead serious. If my crews are going to break the rules to do the right thing, then their admiral is going to be right there with them." On the Galactic Council station, things were much less supportive. Councillor Kyung sat in the vast circular chamber, where representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss matters of galactic importance. Right now, they were discussing humanity's latest problematic behavior. A Thracian councillor, its insect-like mandibles clicking in irritation, was speaking. "The humans have disrupted trade routes across 3 sectors. They have ignored first contact protocols. They have taken responsibility for an unknown species without proper authorization. This is unacceptable." A Volthari representative, floating in its containment sphere of liquid methane, added its opinion. "We have rules for these situations. Refugees are processed through proper channels. Resources are allocated based on galactic law. The humans act as if these laws do not apply to them." All eyes turned to Kyung. She had been humanity's representative for 10 years, and she had spent most of that time explaining human behavior to confused aliens. This was far from the first time. "With respect," Kyung began, "my species sees the situation differently. The Renathi were dying. Captain Deho saved them. Other humans are now helping to care for them. This seems perfectly logical to us." "Logical?" the Thracian councillor chittered. "It is emotional chaos. It is inefficient. It disrupts order." "Maybe," Kyung admitted, "but it's also the right thing to do." "By what measure is it right to cause such disruption for a species of only 40 individuals?" the Volthari asked. Kyung leaned forward. "By the measure that they're people who need help. We don't calculate the worth of helping someone based on how many of them there are. We help because they need it." "This is precisely the problem with humans," another councillor said. "You make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. It makes you unpredictable, dangerous. Or maybe," Kyung said calmly, "it makes us human. And maybe you should be thankful that we're the kind of species who helps refugees instead of ignoring them." The chamber erupted in arguments. Kyung sat back and let them argue. She knew nothing would change. Humans would keep helping the Renathi, regardless of what the council said. That was just how humans worked. Meanwhile, back in human space, something remarkable was happening. It started with a message board post on the civilian networks. Someone had shared the story of the Renathi and asked a simple question: "What can we do to help?" The response was overwhelming. Within hours, donation drives had started on every major human world. Credits, supplies, food, medicine, clothing. People gave what they could. Some gave more than they could afford. A school on Earth held a fundraiser where children made drawings to send to the Renathi children. A retirement community on Luna pooled their savings to buy construction equipment. A factory on Titan shifted its production to make shelter units specifically designed for Renathi biology. Nobody had ordered this. Nobody had organized it. It just happened. Millions of humans independently deciding that these refugees they had never met were worth helping. The indomitable Grace had to start refusing shipments because they couldn't fit any more supplies on board. Captain Deho found himself coordinating a small fleet of ships, all of them filled with humans eager to help. Vess watched all of this with confusion and growing wonder. I do not understand, the Renathi elder said to Ambassador Minji. Your people do not know us. We cannot repay this generosity. Why do they do this? Minji smiled. Because word got out. Because people heard that someone needed help, and because helping is what humans do. But so many of your kind, so much effort for us? For you, Minji confirmed. You're kin now. That's what we're calling you. Kin. It means family, and humans take care of family. We are not your family, Vess said, confused. We are not even the same species. Doesn't matter, Minji said simply. We've decided you're family. That's enough. In the engineering bay, young Talus was experiencing this human kindness firsthand. Hajun had been showing the young Renathi how to repair various ship systems when a package arrived from Earth. It was addressed to Talus specifically. For me? Talus asked, surprised. But I know no one on Earth. Open it, Hajun encouraged. Inside were tools. A complete set of engineering tools, sized perfectly for Renathi hands. There was a note attached, written in careful Korean with a translation added below. To Talus, we heard you like machines. These tools belong to my grandfather. He would want someone who loves engineering to have them. Welcome to the family, from Minho on Earth. Talus's crystal feathers glowed brightly, shimmering with emotion. I do not understand. This Minho does not know me. He knows you're interested in engineering, Hajun said. He knows you're Renathi. He knows you're part of our family now. That's all he needs to know. Talus held the tools carefully as if they were made of something precious. Humans are very strange. Yeah, Hajun agreed with a grin. We really are. The situation came to a head when the Vrexil Dominion learned what was happening. The Vrexil were a militaristic species who believed in conquest and resource extraction. They had destroyed the Renathi homeworld and considered the survivors their property. A message arrived at the Galactic Council, broadcast on all frequencies. It was from a Vrexil commander named Kranix. The refugees currently in human custody are escaped property from Dominion-claimed territories. We demand their immediate return. Failure to comply will be considered an act of theft and will be met with appropriate consequences. The message caused an uproar in the council. Many species urged the humans to comply. The Renathi were not worth a war with the Vrexil, they argued. Be reasonable, they said. Think of the bigger picture. Captain Deho received the message while his ship was still 3 days from human core territory. He read it twice, his expression darkening with each word. Then he composed his response and broadcast it on all the same frequencies the Vrexil had used. To the Vrexil Dominion. This is Captain Deho of the human vessel Indomitable Grace. The Renathi are not property. They are people. They are under human protection now, and if you want them, you're going to have to come through every human ship, every human station, and every human world to get them. Come and try to take them. We'll be waiting. The message was broadcast across the galaxy. On the council station, Counselor Kyung received urgent communications from dozens of species, all of them asking if humanity had lost its mind. Were the humans really threatening war with the Vrexil over 40 refugees? Kyung's response was calm and clear. Yes, because they're kin now, and humans don't abandon kin. Back on the Indomitable Grace, Vess approached Deho on the bridge. The Renathi elder had heard the captain's message and understood its implications. You would risk war, Vess said. For us, not just me, Deho replied, gesturing to his crew. All of us. Every human who heard your story and decided you were worth protecting. But why? We are nothing. We are weak. We are few. Deho turned to face Vess fully. You keep saying that. You are nothing. You have nothing. You are weak. Stop saying that. You are Renathi. You survived hell. You kept your people together. You didn't give up even when everything was taken from you. That's not weakness. That's strength. I do not feel strong, Vess admitted quietly. Maybe not now, Deho said. But you will. Because you're not alone anymore. You have us, and we have you. That's what kin means. Admiral Soman arrived 2 days later with a fleet of 30 human warships. She didn't ask permission. She didn't wait for orders. She just came, bringing with her enough firepower to make the Vrexil think twice. When her ship docked with the Indomitable Grace, she found Deho waiting at the airlock. He saluted. She returned it, then surprised him by pulling him into a brief hug. You started something big, Captain, she said. I just helped some people who needed it, Deho replied. You did more than that. You reminded every human what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do. Now come on." The alarm system screamed across the bridge of the Indomitable Grace as Captain Deho stared at the readings on his screen. Something was out there in the darkness of space, drifting without power near the Outer Rim territories. His ship had been on a routine patrol when the sensors picked up the weak distress signal. "Captain, the vessel is badly damaged," Bora called out from her station at navigation. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls, trying to get a clearer picture. Hull breaches on multiple decks. "Life support is failing." Deho leaned forward in his command chair. 200 years ago, humanity had joined the Galactic Council and learned they were not alone in the universe. They had met dozens of alien species, made friends with some and enemies with others, but every first contact still carried weight. Every unknown ship could be anything. "Can you identify the species?" Deho asked. Bora shook her head. "Negative, sir. The design doesn't match any known configuration in our database. This might be a first contact situation." From the engineering station, Hajan looked up with excitement in his eyes. "Captain, we should help them. That ship won't last another 6 hours with those damage levels. Council protocols say we need to report unknown contacts and wait for a diplomatic team," Bora reminded them, though her voice lacked conviction. She had served with Deho long enough to know what he would say next. Deho stood up and walked toward the main view screen. Out there in the black, a ship was dying. People were dying. He didn't need a committee to tell him what to do about that. "Prepare a rescue team," he ordered. "Ajun, get your repair drones ready. Bora, take us in close. And someone wake up Ambassador Minji. She'll want to be part of this." The Indomitable Grace moved through space like a predator approaching wounded prey, except there was no hunger in its approach, only concern. As they drew closer, the crew could see the extent of the damage. The alien vessel looked like it had been through hell. Burn marks covered its hull. Entire sections were torn open and exposed to vacuum. "How is anyone still alive on that thing?" Hajan whispered. They soon found out. The alien ship had one section still intact, a small area near what appeared to be the engine room. Deho led the rescue team himself, crossing through the airlock in his environmental suit. What he found inside would stay with him forever. The aliens were unlike anything humanity had encountered before. They stood on 2 legs like humans, but their bodies were covered in scales that shimmered with an inner light. From their shoulders and arms grew feathers made of what looked like crystal, refracting the emergency lights into rainbow patterns. Their faces were a blend of reptilian and avian features, with large eyes that held depths of intelligence and, right now, absolute terror. There were maybe 40 of them huddled in that small space. Adults trying to shield children with their own bodies. Elderly ones sitting against walls too weak to stand. They all stared at the humans with fear. One of them, an older alien with dulled crystal feathers, stepped forward. It made sounds that the translation device couldn't immediately process. After a moment, the device beeped and words came through in Korean. "Please," the alien said. "Please don't hurt us. We have nothing left to take." Deho felt something twist in his chest. He had seen combat. He had seen suffering. But there was something about the way this being spoke, the absolute defeat in those words, that cut deeper than any weapon. He held up his hands, palms out, in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help. My name is Deho. We picked up your distress signal." The alien seemed to struggle with this concept. "Help? You would help us? We are Renathi. We are nothing. We have nothing. You have us now," Deho said simply. "Come on, let's get you somewhere safe." The rescue took 3 hours. The humans worked carefully, moving the injured Renathi to the medical bay of the Indomitable Grace. Hajun and his team started emergency repairs on the Renathi vessel, at least enough to keep it together for towing. The whole time, the Renathi seemed unable to believe what was happening. In the medical bay, Dr. Hyunwoo worked quickly to understand Renathi biology. They were surprisingly similar to humans in many ways, at least in terms of basic needs. They breathed oxygen. They needed water. They could digest several types of protein that humans had brought along. Ambassador Minji sat with the elder Renathi, whose name was Vess, and listened to their story. The Renathi had once been million-strong, living on a beautiful world rich in rare minerals. Then the Vrexil Dominion had arrived. They had strip-mined the planet, taken everything of value, and left the Renathi to die on a toxic barren rock. These 40 survivors had escaped in this old cargo ship. fleeing with nothing but their lives. We have been running for 2 cycles, Vess explained, using a time measurement the translator rendered as roughly 8 months. No one would help us. The few species we encountered either ignored us or chased us away. Some tried to capture us to sell us as slaves. We thought we would die out here in the dark. Minji reached out slowly and placed her hand on Vess's arm. The Renathi flinched at first, then relaxed. You're not going to die, Minji said firmly. We'll help you. We'll find you a home. Why? Vess asked. We are weak. We are few. We have nothing to offer you. Why would you help us? Minji smiled. Because you need help. That's reason enough. On the bridge, Bora approached Deho with a concerned expression. Captain, I've been thinking about the protocols. We're supposed to report this and let the council handle refugee situations. If we take them with us, if we get involved, there could be complications. Deho looked at the scan of the Renathi ship on his screen. He thought about the fear in Vess's eyes. He thought about the children clinging to their parents. He thought about what it meant to be human. You know what, Bora? I don't care about complications right now. Those people down in medical, they're not a situation to be handled. They're not a problem for some committee to debate. They're people who need help. But sir, the rules... Forget the rules, Deho said, his voice calm but absolute. They look like they need help. That's all the protocol I need. In the days that followed, something remarkable happened. The Renathi slowly began to trust their human rescuers. The children especially adapted quickly. A young Renathi named Talus became fascinated with the ship's engines and spent hours following Hajun around, asking questions in broken but improving human language. Hajun didn't mind at all. He showed Talus how the hyperdrive worked, how the power systems connected, how every part of the ship had a purpose. The young Renathi's crystal feathers would glow brighter when excited, creating beautiful light patterns. You like machines, Hajun observed one day. Talus nodded eagerly. Machines make sense. They do what they are built to do. They do not hate. They do not take everything and leave you with nothing. Hajun felt his heart break a little at those words. Not all beings are like the ones who hurt your people, Talus. Some of us actually want to help. I am learning this, Talus said quietly. Humans are strange, but good strange. Captain Deho made his decision on the 5th day. He called his senior staff together and told them plainly, we're not handing the Renathi over to some refugee processing center. We're not leaving them at the nearest station to fend for themselves. They're coming with us. We'll find them a proper home. A real home. Bora sighed but nodded. She had known this was coming. The council is going to have questions. Let them ask, Deho said. I'll have answers, Ambassador Minji smiled. I'll start working on the paperwork. Though I suspect once word gets out about this, we won't be the only humans wanting to help. She was more right than she knew. When the indomitable Gray sent its report back to human space, something unexpected happened. The story of the Renathi spread like wildfire. Within days, other human ships were changing course, offering supplies, asking how they could help. It wasn't orders from above. It wasn't a coordinated effort. It was just humans being humans. As the indomitable Gray set course for human territory, Vess stood in the observation deck with Deho, looking at the stars. I do not understand your species, Vess admitted. You barely know us. We cannot repay you. Yet you risk much to help us, Deho shrugged. Maybe that's what makes us human. We see someone who needs help and we can't just walk away. It's not in our nature. What will happen to us now? Now? Deho smiled. Now you're kin. And we take care of our kin. Vess didn't fully understand the word kin yet. But in time they would learn. They would all learn what it meant when humans decided you were family. The Vrexil war fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal locusts. 300 ships armed with weapons designed to crack planets and burn atmospheres. They had come to reclaim what they saw as their property, and to teach humanity a lesson about defying the Dominion. On the bridge of the human flagship Unbreakable, Captain Yunji watched the enemy fleet arrange itself in attack formation. She was Commodore Deho's former mentor, a veteran of 2 previous wars, and she had seen many fleets in her career. But this one was different. This one came with the intent to destroy everything humans had built. That's a lot of ships, her tactical officer said quietly. Yes, it is, Yunji agreed calmly. Count them again. I want precise numbers. The count came back. 317 Vrexil warships against 103 human vessels. 3-to-1 odds. Any military academy would say retreat was the logical option. Preserve forces. Live to fight another day. Don't throw away lives in an unwinnable battle. But military academies didn't understand what humans were fighting for. Fleet Admiral Nari's voice came through on the fleet-wide channel. She was aboard her command ship, the massive dreadnought Infinite Defiance positioned at the center of the human formation. All ships, this is Admiral Nari. You all know what we're here for. Below us is a world full of people who need our protection. Behind us is everything we've built with the Renathi, everything we've promised them. And in front of us is an enemy that thinks we'll back down because they brought more ships. She paused, letting her words sink in. They're wrong. Today we show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens humanity's kin. Today we show them that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the odds. All ships, battle stations, prepare for combat. On the planet below, Governor Jiwan had gathered all the humans and Renathi in the central plaza. They could see the ships in orbit, tiny points of light that would soon be locked in battle. The children were frightened. The adults tried to hide their fear and mostly failed. I won't lie to you, Jiwan said, her voice carrying across the silent crowd. The battle above us will be fierce. The Vrexil outnumber our fleet. Some of those brave people up there might not come home, but they're fighting anyway. Do you know why? She looked around at the faces, human and Renathi alike. Because you're worth it. Because this place we've built together is worth it. Because family is worth fighting for no matter the cost. Vess stepped forward to stand beside Jiwan. The Renathi elder's voice was strong despite the fear. We offered to leave, to surrender ourselves. Every human refused. They told us that kin does not abandon kin. I'm beginning to understand what this word truly means. In the engineering sections scattered across the settlement, Hajun was working frantically with his teams. They had spent the last week preparing something special, something the Vrexil wouldn't expect. Talus, how are the resonance amplifiers? Hajun called out. The young Renathi was surrounded by equipment, crystal feathers glowing with concentration. The frequencies are aligned. But Hajun, are you certain this will work? We have never tried to weaponize our harmonics before. It'll work, Hajun said with more confidence than he felt. Your crystal harmonics disrupted our sensors when we first met you. The Vrexil use similar sensor technology. If we can amplify the effect, we can blind their ships, maybe even overload their systems. And you thought of this because of our people? I thought of it because our people gave us the tools to fight back, Hajun corrected gently. This is our contribution to the battle, yours and mine. In orbit, the Vrexil fleet began its advance. Overlord Krenix broadcast from his flagship, his voice full of contempt. Humans, you have made a foolish choice. You could have walked away. You could have saved your ships and your lives. Instead, you choose to die for worthless refugees. Your sentimentality is your weakness. We will crush you, take what is ours, and add your worlds to our domain. Captain Yunji listened to this speech with a cold smile. Then she opened a channel to her crew. You heard the oversized lizard. He thinks sentimentality is weakness. Let's show him what human sentimentality looks like when you weaponize it. All ships advance. Protect the planet. Protect our kin. The human fleet moved forward in a coordinated dance, each ship knowing its role. They didn't try to meet the Vrexil head-on. Instead, they used the terrain of space itself. Asteroid fields became obstacles. Debris clouds became cover. The humans fought smart, using every advantage they could find. The first exchange of fire lit up the darkness like a new sun being born. Missiles streaked between ships. Energy beams carved through the void. Shields flared and failed. Armor melted under sustained fire. Ships on both sides took damage. Pilot Officer Bora, now captain of her own destroyer, led a squadron through a debris field that the Vrexil had thought was impassable. Her ships emerged behind enemy lines and struck at the Vrexil supply vessels, crippling their ability to resupply the front-line ships. This is for the Renathi, she shouted as her weapons found their marks. On the Unbreakable, Captain Yunji coordinated the defense with practiced efficiency. She had fought in wars before, but never for something this personal. Never for family. Commodore Deho is requesting permission to execute Operation Crystal Song, her communications officer reported. Yunji felt a moment of hesitation. Operation Crystal Song was dangerous. Untested. Based on technology they barely understood. But it might also be the key to evening the odds. Permission granted, she said. Tell him good luck. Commodore Deho received the confirmation aboard his ship. which was positioned closest to the planet. He opened a channel to the surface. "Hajun, we're ready up here. Are you ready down there?" From the planet, Hajun's voice came through. "We're ready. Talus and the Renathi have the amplifiers at full power. Initiating crystal song in 3, 2, 1 now." On the surface, every Renathi on the planet sang. Their crystal feathers resonated with a frequency that was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The amplifiers Hajun had built caught that song and boosted it, sent it out into space in a focused beam. The beam hit the Vrexil fleet like a hammer. Their sensors went haywire. Their targeting systems failed. Their communication arrays sparked and died. For a crucial 10 seconds, the Vrexil fleet was blind and deaf. The human fleet didn't waste the opportunity. They struck with everything they had, targeting the disabled Vrexil ships with precision. Dozens of enemy vessels took critical damage before their systems came back online. Overlord Kranix roared with rage. What was that? What did they do? His tactical officer struggled to explain. It was some kind of resonance attack. It came from the planet, from the Renathi. The refugees have weapons? Kranix couldn't believe it. Not weapons, the officer said. This was something else. Something biological mixed with human technology. On the planet, the Renathi were exhausted from their singing, but they were also filled with pride. For the first time since their world fell, they had fought back. They had helped defend themselves. "We did it," Talus said, feathers glowing weakly. "We actually helped." "You did more than help," Hajun said, putting a hand on the young Renathi's shoulder. "You just changed the battle. You gave our fleet a chance. The battle raged for hours. The Vrexil had numbers, but humans had determination. They had strategy. They had a reason to fight that went beyond conquest or greed. Every human in that fleet knew exactly what they were protecting. They could picture the faces of the Renathi they had come to know. They could remember the children playing in the new settlement. They could see the future they were building together, and that made them fight harder than any species the Vrexil had ever faced. Admiral Nari's dreadnought, Infinite Defiance, took massive damage but kept fighting. Its armor was scarred. Its shields were failing, but Nari refused to retreat. "Keep firing," she ordered. "We hold this line. We don't let them through." Captain Yunji's Unbreakable lived up to its name, absorbing punishment that would have destroyed lesser ships. She led her battle group in a desperate maneuver, using her own ship as a shield for the smaller vessels behind her. Commodore Deho found himself in direct combat with a Vrexil heavy cruiser. The enemy ship was larger, better armed, but Deho's crew had something the Vrexil didn't. They had a reason to win that transcended self-preservation. "Target their power core," Deho ordered. "I don't care if we have to ram them. That ship doesn't get past us." The battle reached its turning point when the Vrexil tried to break through the human line to bombard the planet directly. If they couldn't take the Renathi alive, they would kill them out of spite. Every human ship in the fleet moved to block them. They formed a wall of metal and fury between the Vrexil and the planet. Ships that were barely holding together found new strength. Crews that were exhausted found new energy. Captain Yunji knew what she had to do. Her ship was the heaviest, the strongest, the most capable of taking damage. She plotted a course that would put the Unbreakable directly in the path of the Vrexil flagship. "All crew, brace for impact," she announced calmly. "We're going to show these bastards what it means to fight a human protecting their family." The Unbreakable accelerated, burning its engines beyond safe limits. It crashed into the Vrexil flagship at a relative velocity that should have been impossible. The impact was catastrophic for both ships. The Unbreakable's bow crumpled like paper. The battle had been over for 3 days, but the war was far from finished. The Vrexil Dominion had retreated, but they had not surrendered, and the galaxy had watched everything. In the Galactic Council chamber, the atmosphere was tense. Species that had dismissed humanity as emotional and irrational now saw them differently. The humans had been outnumbered 3-1 and had won. They had sacrificed ships and lives for refugees they barely knew. It was illogical. It was inefficient. It was also undeniably powerful. Counselor Kyung stood at the human podium, facing representatives from across the galaxy. She had prepared a speech about human actions, about the right to protect refugees, about the injustice of the Vrexil Dominion. But as she looked at the assembled aliens, she realized a speech wasn't what was needed. "You want to know why we did it," she said simply. "You want to understand how humans could risk so much for 40 aliens we met only months ago." The chamber was silent. Every species was listening. The answer is simple, Kyung continued. We saw people who needed help. We helped them. They became our friends. Our friends became our family. And humans will burn the galaxy down before we let anyone harm our family. That's not a threat. It's just who we are. A Thracian counselor spoke up, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Your species is dangerous. This battle proved it. You fight with an intensity we have never seen. Only when protecting kin, Kyung replied. If you're not threatening our family, you have nothing to fear from us. But if you are, then yes, we are very dangerous. The Volthari representative floated forward in its containment sphere. The Vrexil will not accept this defeat. They will return. They will bring more ships. This conflict will escalate. Then it escalates, Kyung said calmly. We're not abandoning the Renathi. Not now, not ever. If the Vrexil want war, they'll have war. This is madness, another counselor protested. All this for one insignificant species. Kyung's eyes went cold. They're not insignificant, not to us. And if you think any species is insignificant, then maybe you're the one with the problem, not us. The debate raged for hours, but Kyung knew it didn't matter. The council could debate and discuss and disapprove all they wanted. Humanity had made its choice. The only question was what everyone else would do about it. Back at the Renathi world, now officially named New Haven, the real work had begun. The dead needed to be honored. The wounded needed to heal. The settlement needed to grow stronger in case the Vrexil returned. Admiral Nari had established a permanent military presence in the system. New ships arrived daily. Defensive stations were being built. New Haven would never be caught unprepared again. But even as the military buildup continued, so did the building of the settlement. Humans didn't just prepare for war. They prepared for peace. They built schools for Renathi children. They planted gardens. They created art. They lived. Dr. Hyunwoo had converted his research facility into a hospital treating both species. Human and Renathi doctors worked side by side, learning from each other. The Renathi had unique medical knowledge about harmony and balance that fascinated human physicians. Humans had technologies and techniques that amazed the Renathi. We are becoming something new, Dr. Hyunwoo said to his staff one day. Not human medicine, not Renathi healing, something that combines the best of both. One of the Renathi doctors, whose name translated as Seren, nodded agreement. This is how it should be. Different species learning from each other, growing together. In the engineering district, Hajin had been promoted to chief infrastructure designer. He worked with a team that was now half Renathi, building a city that was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The architecture was a fusion of styles, buildings that were structurally human but aesthetically Renathi, roads that followed human engineering principles but incorporated Renathi harmony concepts. Talus had become Hajin's unofficial apprentice and official deputy. The young Renathi had learned human engineering with remarkable speed, but also taught the humans about Renathi approaches to design. Humans build for function, Talus observed one day while they were planning a new residential area. Renathi build for harmony. Together we build for both. That's poetry, Hajun said with a grin. We should put that on a plaque. They actually did put it on a plaque. It was installed at the entrance to the engineering district, written in both human languages and Renathi script. The cultural exchange was perhaps the most profound change. Young Taeyang had started a music school where humans and Renathi learned each other's arts. The fusion music that he and Talus had created was spreading. Other artists were experimenting with combinations of human and Renathi techniques. One evening, there was a concert in the central plaza. The entire population of New Haven attended, both species sitting together. The music began with traditional human instruments, then Renathi crystal harmonics joined in, and the result was something that brought tears to many eyes. This is why we fought, Captain Yunji said to Commodore Daeho as they listened to the concert. Kunji was still recovering from her injuries walking with a cane, but she had insisted on attending. For music? Daeho asked with a slight smile. For this, Yunji corrected, gesturing at the crowd, humans and Renathi together, creating something beautiful. This is what we protected. This is what was worth the cost, Daeho nodded, and we'd do it again. In a heartbeat, Yunji agreed, but the peace was fragile. The Vrexil Dominion had not forgotten or forgiven. Intelligence reports indicated they were gathering a new fleet, larger than the first. They were also reaching out to other species, trying to build a coalition against humanity. Some species were listening. The idea of humans deciding who was worthy of protection, then fighting wars to enforce that decision, made them nervous. What if humans decided to protect a species that was in conflict with them? What if human sentiment became a destabilizing force in galactic politics? Governor Jiwan received a delegation of concerned alien diplomats who wanted to understand human intentions. She met with them in the government building, flanked by both human and Rhinathi officials. "We're here to ask about human expansion plans," the lead diplomat said. "You've claimed this world. You've established a military presence. You've gone to war to protect it. What are your intentions for the region?" "Our intentions are simple," Jiwan replied. "We're helping the Rhinathi rebuild their civilization. That's all." "But the military buildup is defensive," Jiwan interrupted. "The Vrexil attacked us. We're making sure they can't do it again. And if other species in the region feel threatened by your presence," Jiwan leaned forward, "then they should ask themselves why they feel threatened by people who are just trying to live in peace. We're not conquering anyone. We're not exploiting anything. We're protecting our kin. If that threatens you, maybe you need to examine your own intentions." The diplomat looked uncomfortable. "We're simply concerned about stability." Vess, sitting next to Jiwan, spoke up. "You want to know if humans will do this for other species? If they will adopt others as kin and fight for them, yes?" The diplomat nodded. "The answer is yes," Vess said firmly. "That is what humans do. They see suffering and they cannot ignore it. They see injustice and they must fight it. This is not weakness. This is their greatest strength. And if you are afraid of it, perhaps you should consider what you might be doing that would make humans your enemy." The delegation left without getting the reassurances they wanted, but they also left with something to think about. As news of the brewing conflict spread, something unexpected happened. Other species that had been victimized by the Vrexil Dominion began reaching out to humanity, refugees, survivors, people who had lost everything and had nowhere to turn. The first group arrived on the third week after the battle. They were Kelvin, a small insectoid species whose world had been conquered by the Vrexil decades ago. There were only 200 of them left, and they came to New Haven asking for asylum. The Rhinathi were the ones who answered their call. Vess personally greeted the Kelvin refugees at the spaceport. "Welcome," Vess said through the translator. "You have suffered as we have suffered. You seek safety as we sought safety. We understand." The Kelvin leader, a small creature with compound eyes, seemed amazed. "You would help us? But you are refugees yourself." "We are refugees who have been given a home," Vess corrected. "And we were taught that kin helps kin." "You are kin now. Come. We will help you as we were helped." When Governor Jiwan learned what the Rhinathi had done, she smiled with pride. "They're learning. They're becoming like us. Or we're becoming like them," Hajun suggested. "Maybe kin goes both ways." The Kelvin were settled in a section of New Haven prepared by Rhinathi volunteers. Humans helped with the heavy construction, but the Rhinathi led the effort. They had been on the receiving end of kindness. Now they were paying it forward. More refugees arrived. The Vrexil had made many enemies, destroyed many worlds, displaced many peoples, and now word had spread that there was a place called New Haven, where refugees were welcome, where humans and Rhinathi would protect you, where you could be kin. Within 2 months, New Haven's population had grown from 40 Rhinathi and several hundred humans to over 5,000 beings from 7 different species. The settlement, "We have a lot of work to do." "Work?" Soman grinned. "If we're going to tell the planet was perfect, it sat in the Kepler expanse, an unclaimed region of space that no major power had bothered to colonize. The world had breathable air, liquid water, and a stable climate. Most importantly, it had something the Rhinathi desperately needed: space to grow, room to heal, a place to call home. Governor Jiwan stood on the bridge of her colony ship, looking down at the planet's surface with satisfaction. She had been preparing to establish a mining colony on a different world when she heard about the Rhinathi. Without hesitation, she had changed course and brought her entire colonial expedition here instead. "Are you sure about this?" her chief of operations asked. "We had permits for the Taurus system. Good mineral deposits. Guaranteed profits. This planet has nothing but potential." Jiwan smiled. "The Rhinathi are kin now. Kin is more valuable than any mineral deposit. The first human ships landed 3 days after the planet was surveyed. They came loaded with prefabricated buildings, farming equipment, water purification systems, and everything else needed to start a colony from scratch. But they didn't just start building. They waited. Captain Deho brought Vess and the other Renathi leaders down to the surface. They stood on a grassy hill overlooking a wide valley with a river running through it. The breeze carried the scent of alien flowers. The sun was warm without being harsh. It was beautiful. "This could be yours," Deho said simply, "if you want it. We found this planet. It's unclaimed. We can establish your sovereignty here, make it officially your world." Vess stared at the landscape, crystal feathers catching the sunlight. "Ours, a world for the Renathi?" "For the Renathi," Governor Jiwan confirmed. "We'll help you build it. We'll help you defend it, but it will be your world, your home." One of the other Renathi leaders spoke up. "What do you want in return?" "Nothing," Jiwan said. "Well, maybe friendship. Maybe trade someday when you're ready. But no payment, no debt. This is a gift." "We do not understand humans," Vess said, voice thick with emotion. "You give so much and ask for nothing." "We ask that you live," Deho said quietly. "We ask that you rebuild. We ask that you be happy here. That's all we want." Vess turned to look at him, large eyes shimmering with tears. "Then yes, we accept, and we will never forget this kindness." The building began the next day. Humans and Renathi worked side by side, though the Renathi were still weak and few in number. The humans didn't mind. They did the heavy lifting while the Renathi directed where they wanted their buildings, how their community should be laid out. Hajun found himself in his element. He worked with Talus and the other Renathi who understood technology, designing structures that blended human efficiency with Renathi aesthetics. The buildings they created were unlike anything either species had made before. Walls that caught and reflected light through crystal panels, roofs shaped like wings, gardens integrated into every structure. "This is beautiful," Hajun said one day, standing back to admire a completed community center. "It's like nothing I've ever built before." Talus's feathers glowed with pride. "It is Renathi style with human strength. Together we make something new. Something better." "That's exactly right," Hajun agreed. "Together is better." Dr. Hyunwoo set up a medical research facility near the first settlement. He was fascinated by Renathi biology and determined to understand it fully. Not to exploit it, but to help. He wanted to know what medicines would work for them, what diseases might threaten them, how to keep them healthy. During his research, he made a remarkable discovery. The crystal feathers that grew from Renathi bodies had incredible properties. They could store solar energy. They could resonate at frequencies that affected mood and health. They seemed to have mild regenerative properties when properly stimulated. Within hours of his discovery, messages started coming in. Pharmaceutical companies from across human space wanted samples. They offered millions of credits. Some offered billions. They saw the commercial potential immediately. Dr. Hyunwoo deleted every single message without responding. Then he called a press conference. "I have discovered something remarkable about Renathi biology," he announced to the gathered reporters. "Their crystal feathers have properties that could revolutionize medicine. However, I want to make something absolutely clear. The Renathi are not a resource to be exploited. They are people. They are kin, and their biology is their own. If any company approaches the Renathi with offers to buy samples or rights to their genetics, they will answer to every human who considers the Renathi family." "Am I clear?" The message spread quickly. The offers stopped. The companies that had been so eager suddenly remembered they had other projects to work on. Nobody wanted to be known as the corporation that tried to exploit humanity's newest kin. As the settlement grew, something beautiful began to happen. Renathi culture, which had been nearly destroyed, started to flourish again. The survivors taught their children the old songs, the traditional stories, the history of their people. But they also started incorporating human elements, creating something new. A young human named Taeyang had come to the planet as part of a cultural exchange program. He was only 16 but had a passion for music. When he heard Renathi crystal singing for the first time, he was mesmerized. The Renathi could make their crystal feathers resonate, creating sounds unlike anything in human music. "Could you teach me?" Taeyang asked Talus one evening. "You do not have crystal feathers," Talus pointed out. You cannot make the sounds. Maybe not naturally, Taeyang said. But I play the violin. What if we combined them? Your crystal harmonics with my strings? They tried it the next day. Talus sang, feathers resonating with pure, clear tones. Taeyang played his violin, weaving melody around the crystalline sounds. The result was something neither species had heard before. It was hauntingly beautiful, a perfect fusion of two completely different musical traditions. Within weeks, other humans and Renathi were creating similar fusion works. Art that combined crystal light with human pigments. Architecture that blended both aesthetics. Food that mixed both cuisines. A true shared culture was emerging. Ambassador Minji watched all of this with deep satisfaction. She had spent her career studying xenology, learning about alien cultures, but she had never seen anything quite like this. Two species so different, creating something together. This is what first contact should always be, she said to Vess one day as they walked through the growing settlement. Not conquest, not exploitation, this building together. Growing together. Vess nodded. Our people are healing, not just our bodies, our spirits. We thought everything was lost. But here, with your people, we are finding ourselves again. And we're learning from you too, Minji said. Your art, your music, your way of seeing the world. It's making us better. But not everyone was happy with the situation. The Vrexil Dominion sent spies to observe the new Renathi world. They watched as the settlement grew. They watched as humans poured resources into protecting and building it. They watched and they planned. Captain Deho, now promoted to Commodore, was well aware of the Vrexil interest. He had established a permanent defense fleet in orbit around the planet. 30 ships, armed and ready, with more arriving every week. The message was clear. This world was protected. He stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the planet below. So much had happened in just a few months. The Renathi had gone from 40 dying refugees to the beginning of a new civilization, and humanity had found something too. A sense of purpose, a reminder of what they could be at their best. Commodore, his communications officer, called. We're receiving a message from the Vrexil Dominion. It's on all frequencies. They want everyone to hear it. Put it through, Deho ordered. The voice that came through was cold and harsh. This is Overlord Krynix of the Vrexil Dominion. We have been patient. We have given the humans time to see reason. But patience has limits. The Renathi remain property of the Dominion. The world they occupy was an unclaimed space, but we are claiming it now. You have one standard galactic cycle to evacuate all humans and return the Renathi to us. If you refuse, we will take them by force. The message ended. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then Deho started laughing. It wasn't humor. It was the laugh of someone who had been pushed too far and had finally stopped caring about the consequences. Send a response, Deho ordered. Make sure it goes on all the same frequencies. He took a breath, then spoke clearly into the recorder. Overlord Krynix, this is Commodore Deho of the Human Defense Forces. We have heard your demand. Here is our response. No, the Renathi are not property. This world is their home, and if you want it, you're going to have to go through me, my fleet, and every human ship that will be here within a week. We have established a line in the stars. You can try to cross it, but I promise you, it will be the last line you ever cross. On the planet below, the Renathi had heard the Vrexil message too. Panic spread through the settlement. They had thought they were safe. They had thought they had finally found peace. Now the Vrexil were coming again. Vess found Governor Jiwan in the administrative building preparing evacuation plans. We must leave, Vess said urgently. We must go before the Vrexil arrive. You have done so much for us. We cannot let you fight a war because of us, Jiwan looked.